make some comments on the statement made by the senior leader of the AAP party, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, on the referendum for the presence of the army in Kashmir. Let's start on a very positive note. Strongly condemns an extremely regrettable, reprehensible, and I can think of many other words, but deplorable statement that he made on India's first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. I think some people, when they make a comment on India's leaders of the past, stalwarts, eminent political personalities, I think they should go and read some history. It's important that they do so. What was particularly, I thought, disturbing was the fact that Baba Ramdev made very insulting remarks, wrong remarks on a person, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who's considered worldwide not just as a political leader, but as a statesman. There's a big difference there. Pandit Nehru was considered to be a statesman. And a statesman is someone who looks as a leader not just at the political challenges facing his party or his country, but who looks at the role of his nation amongst a League of Nations. I think it's important for, and certainly Mr. Baba Ramdev to know, that the non-aligned movement was co-founded by Pandit Nehru. It resulted post the World War into easing of global tensions because two blocs had emerged. I mean, these are not ordinary achievements. Pandit Nehru is an architect of this modern India, a sovereign, secular, democratic republic that we are. And we do believe that Baba Ramdev's statement is extremely pathetic, and we strongly condemn it. And I would like you to go ahead and ask the other senior leaders from the BJP who were present on the dais, namely their Prime Ministerial candidate Mr. Modi, their President Mr. Rajnath Singh, and even Arun Jaitley, as to do they agree with that? Do they endorse the view of Baba Ramdev? I think that's something that you need to go and ask them. I do believe, and the Congress party is very, very strong in its condemnation of that blatant and brazen lie. My second comment will be on the fact that we heard. I'll take your questions. Yeah, okay. After these are my second political, but anyway, my third point would be that we heard on the same dais Baba Ramdev, who's got certain very serious cases for which he is being investigated, giving suggestions in terms of the economic model that the BJP government under Mr. Narendra Modi, designate Prime Ministerial, ought to follow. He talked about economic freedom, and I think it would be more like freedom from economics. And I do believe also that intellectual bankruptcy perhaps is a prelude to financial bankruptcy. Here you have a Prime Minister of India who's been a former finance minister, who's been the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, besides being, and I don't want to get into the academic qualifications of our very well-known, respected Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, but he is so well respected for his financial acumen that leaders worldwide, including the US President, Mr. Barack Obama, looks up to him for advice. I remember Mr. Obama's statement where he said that amongst the G20 leaders when we meet, practically all international leaders look up to the Prime Minister with a great deal of awe and respect. But here you have, and I do believe, an extremely, I would say, queer situation for India if Mr. Baba Ramdev were to be the chief economic advisor to Mr. Narendra Modi. That's something that I think you need to ruminate on. But I do believe that, a healthy economy, and I'm using healthy in quotes, does not mean that you need a yoga expert. My last observation for the day is on a statement which has been, been all over the place because last I saw it on television, is a comment made by the AAP leader, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, where he talked about a referendum on whether the army should be there in Kashmir or not. We do believe that the AAP party should now wake up to this reality that they are a political party. They are no longer mere commentators. They are no longer analysts. They are not an NGO. They are a political party and they are heard. They will be heard. Everything that they will say or not say, if it communicates a message, good or bad, will be talked about. And therefore, it is the responsibility of leaders from the AAP party to be extremely careful about what they say. We are dealing here with a very, very sensitive issue related to Kashmir, where everyone is aware that the presence of the army has been critical in stopping infiltration as a counter to terrorism and for ensuring that elements that are disruptive do not make Kashmir into a base for their nefarious activities or goals. And it is in that light that we would like to advise the AAP party that they need to realize that you can't be irresponsible in making statements on issues that are fairly national, which are being looked at by the government and by the state government with gravity. And it is pertinent, therefore, to point out that for the AAP party, which now, from the sound of what I've been hearing for the last couple of days, they do have national ambitions. They have political aspirations to go pan-India, in which case they need to have a very well thought out, well considered view on issues of national security, or whether it's foreign policy, whether it's economic or any other social legislation of merit and importance. I think these were some of the observations that I wanted to make, and I'm very open to taking your questions.
Sanjay Ji, a question slightly different from what you have said. First, it was your party Vice President Rahul Gandhi who said post-defeat in Delhi elections that Congress needs to learn from AAP, that's Aam Aadmi Party. Now it's a senior minister of your government and a senior leader of your party who says that if both Congress and BJP and regional parties do not learn from Aam Aadmi Party, they will be sort of annihilated, they will become a part of the history. Do you agree with the statements? Does party agree with the statements? And also, is this now not merely a politics of rhetoric?
Let me tell you that firstly you got to admit and admire the candidness of Mr. Gandhi, who was very open and frank enough to say that no party, not even a party that's 128 years old, should live in a cocoon. You live and learn, you evolve. I mean, that's what an adaptive political organization is all about. And that's precisely, to answer your question, what Mr. Gandhi said. He said it's important for parties to evolve. It's important for parties to be grounded. It's important for parties to see if there is any change in society or, some kind of a voter behavior that you need to capture early, or any other development that you should be constantly sensitive about. That does not mean that we are not. What it does mean is that you have to be constantly alert to your environment. And if you pick up, and I'll tell you something, I do believe that the Congress party is smart, open-minded, flexible, and intelligent enough to be able to read into whatever are the developments happening around us. And for that, you don't need to go through an election result to discover that. So I want to let you know that this same party has won many elections at the state level. We won in 2004 against all expectations. We won in 2009 very comprehensively. And I can assure you, and I'm not telling you this as a rhetoric, I can assure you that the Congress party usually, if you look at our history, always emerges stronger, fitter, and in a great number of ways more formidable after, perhaps a few setbacks. It's okay. It's part of life.
So does the party endorses Jairam Ramesh's statement?
Well, all I can comment on is this, is that parties, all political parties, and today we are, much as, there are other pretenders who believe they are pan-India, if you look at South India, Northeast India included, you'll find we are the only actually pan-India party today. It's for us to try and leverage that reach. End of day in politics, it's an evolving India. It's become a younger India. There are a lot of questions being asked. You do well, the benchmark changes. And I'll give you one example. Once upon a time, India was happy with a 3.5% rate of growth. Today at 5%, we are restless, we are impatient, we are angry, and that's a good sign. So I think it's a good sign for a government to perform well, raise expectations. Even if you have people who are upset with you because you are not continuously rising up the curve, you have raised the bar. हाँ पूछे
सर यहीं से एक अनाउंसमेंट हुआ था कि स्नूप गेट पे आप इंक्वायरी आप कमीशन करवाएंगे, सरकार ने कह दिया करवाएंगे, कि आपको जज नहीं मिल रहा, तब मोदी से डरते हैं, जज मना कर रहे हैं?
देखिए, ये एक प्रोसेस है और यहाँ पर एक बार एक फॉर्मल अनाउंसमेंट हो चुका है, तो इसमें कोई ये नाजुक इशू है, इसमें कोई जल्दीबाजी से कोई सरकार इस पर काम नहीं करती है. इसमें दिस इज गॉट नथिंग टू डू, लेट मी रिपीट इट, दिस इज गॉट नथिंग टू डू विद पॉलिटिक्स. लेट मी रिपीट दैट, दिस इज गॉट नथिंग टू डू विद पॉलिटिक्स. You need good judges, you need good people who will take the case, because it involves something which hasn't happened before. You will have to admit that this hasn't happened before. So let the process take place and then we will see how it turns out.
Mr. Parasa.
Do you see a possibility of Congress supporting the AAP after the 2014 Lok Sabha election? If they emerge with good numbers.
I'm hopeful that the Congress party will need nobody's support in 2014 to form the government.
We don't know the details.
जुलाई में सबमिट कर दी गई, लेकिन अब तक उसका इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो रहा. क्या सरकार जो फाइंडिंग है जस्टिस साहब की रिपोर्ट में, उस फाइंडिंग को लेकर सरकार ये चाह रही है कि अगली सरकार तक इसको टाला जाए?
भक्ता का नाम से भक्ता चलना.
ये प्रश्न आपने अफजल जी से भी पूछा था, लेकिन हम डिटेल्स और लेकर आपको इस विषय पर रिएक्ट करेंगे.
Yeah, Venkat.
You are High Command, that's a Congress President and Rahul Gandhi. Everybody says it's a coalition area, we need to have a new alliance partner. There is your statement, you are making statement, we don't need anybody's support. Whether the Congress has the guts to go on its own.
Well, let me answer that. I mean, I don't believe that we can talk in hypothetical situations of our own creation. The elections are still 5 months away. There is an old saying, sir, that a week is a long time in politics. I know there are a lot of people who are these days holding debates and they are talking about contests between two parties and ignoring the Congress. I have always said that, and as a party we believe in it, that you can only write off the Congress at your own peril. Our party has got reach, it's got penetration, it's got leaders, it's got policies, it's got programs. And I want to answer you by mentioning one point here. It is absolutely understandable that governments get criticized. It is the nature of a democracy, and we always welcome that. But you cannot ignore the fact, and these are not empty rhetoric. I mean, if you must have heard you must have been there or heard the Prime Minister's press conference the other day. If you lifted 140 million people out of poverty in 8 years, on an acceptable yardstick of poverty, if India's GDP has grown at around 7.7% over 9 years during the most difficult global economic situation and has been the second fastest in the world, there are many things we are doing right. Whether it's a right to education, whether it's a right to information, whether it's a right to food, whether it's empowerment, these things have all worked well. So how the people will react tomorrow, that we'll have to wait and see. But we are very confident.
Venkat, 1 minute. This is about Antony Committee. We'll take a call on the alliance party.
The question is, have you junked the idea of UPA?
We haven't said that.
No. Let me complete now. Have you junked the idea of UPA 3? Are you saying that it is Congress which on its own can form a government in 2014? Congress will go to Lok Sabha polls alone. Are you saying that?
I'm saying that the Congress is going to fight the elections in 2014 with partners. Now, the point is, 1 minute. The point I'm trying to make is that does not mean we got 206 seats. We got 206 seats in the last elections. A lot of people didn't expect that. So I'm saying that if our number of seats rises, which a lot of people will say, well, you are being very optimistic. It doesn't mean that we will not need partners. We have partners today. We are going as a UPA. But, for people to therefore believe that, your question was on the Congress supporting somebody from the outside. And my answer was to that. I think you missed the point that I was making. I do believe it will be a Congress-led Let me repeat that for your benefit. It will be a Congress-led UPA government that we are very confident of forming in 2014, hopefully with a much better performance from the Congress.
Let's put it this way, that do you see the Congress supporting the Aam Party if they manage better numbers than the Congress Party in 2014? Firstly. And secondly, yeah, just in the repetition of it, please answer that question.
I have no idea how many seats who is fighting. Can anybody in this room predict what is going to be the seats and results of different political parties? I'm not a psephologist. Now you are asking me to hazard a guess and then based on the guess, estimate what could be the possible arrangement. I'm sorry, we are not in the business of making astrological predictions or forecasts.
What is the basis? You are claiming that UPA 3 will come back to the power in the better number. What is the basis of that?
Okay, let me answer you. Can I answer this question? Tom is very senior, so I'm just going to answer whatever he asked me to. Let me tell you this, that if you look at the achievements of the Congress-led UPA, and you will think that I'm just giving you here a documentary reading of the programs and policies. But end of day, India has transformed over the last 9 years dramatically. It's not just the growth in GDP, which has been over 3 times. It's not just been the growth in per capita income, which has been humongous. We have attracted a lot of foreign direct investment. When we took over, you realize in UPA 1, the stock markets had fallen down to 5,000. Today they are above 20,000 levels. So there is a confidence in India. Well, to answer your question, those are state elections. State elections is not the same thing as a general election. And you have to go back to the past trends. You have seen that. You saw that in 2004, you saw that in 2009. The state elections has no correlation to the general elections.
Mr. Jha, Mr. Veerbhadra Singh faces some serious charges of corruption on multiple counts. Has the AICC given Mr. Veerbhadra Singh a clean chit? And does the AICC feel that Mr. Veerbhadra Singh need not resign?
Well, let me tell you, these days we find that a lot of political parties are in a great hurry to give themselves a clean chit. But we believe that the clean chit can only be given by authorities, legal authorities, judicial authorities, the police authorities who investigate. Now, I think there has been a lot of talk on this issue. Mr. Veerbhadra Singh has issued a public statement. He has given a document which I believe has already been provided to all. I think there's a very clear, categorical message in that. And the message in that is that he believes it's a case of political vendetta related to the actions which have been taken against the political members of the previous BJP regime. Now, it is all right for the BJP to come every day and protest and shout and go in TV studios and try and talk about the fact that the chief minister should resign. But in any respected democracy, you've got to follow the process. And I think let's respect that and let us not be in a hurry to prejudge. Puche? Haji?
No, just 1 minute. Coming, last 2 questions.
Related to Himachal Pradesh.
Just a bit. Boliye.
Himachal Pradesh CM Hussain, I just want to know, if Congress Party Chief Minister takes money, it becomes a law. If your former alliance partner DMK, Chief Karnataka daughter takes loan, become a corruption, you put behind the bar. What is the double standard of Congress Party? Why you have a very clear the nature of approaching the problem? Why you are not able to give you correct?
Venkat, this question has been repeated twice in this press conference. We have answered it. No. I agree with you.
I can answer that.
Okay.
I can answer that.
Okay.
Let me answer that. Let me answer that. Once again, we are jumping the gun. You have been told that there are some documents that purport to a certain benefit. Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, sir. Let the investigations establish that. There is a Lokayukt in the state. There is a Lokayukt in the state. Let the finally an evidence, if it indicts somebody, well, it indicts somebody. But we cannot sit and speculate simply because somebody from the Bharatiya Janata Party who is an eminent lawyer, he says so. I have also heard statements from Mr. Jaitley on the CBI in Gujarat, which are totally unfounded. How many times has Mr. Jaitley said that the CBI is trying to harass the Gujarat government, not aware that the CBI can only go to Gujarat either on the instructions of the court or on the invitation of the state. What does it have to do with the central government? So let us not get into that domain. I leave it to Tom. Tom is the boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
सवाल सीधा सा है, बहुत ध्यान से निवेदन है, सुन लीजिएगा पहले।
हाँ, बोलिए।
हिंदुस्तानी में जवाब दीजिएगा और आप क्या कह रहे हैं इससे हमारा सरोकार नहीं है। कांग्रेस पार्टी क्या कहती है वो आप बताएंगे। आपने बहुत देर से ऑब्जर्वेशन की यही बात है। आप क्या सोचते हैं उससे हमें कोई लेन देन नहीं है। क्या कहा है बाबा रामदेव ने, और बाबा रामदेव जब ये कहते हैं कि काला धन वापस लाइए, उस पर कांग्रेस का क्या कहना है ये बताइए।
फर्स्टली
हिंदी में मैंने कहा,
पहले आपको मैं ये बताना चाहूँगा कि यहाँ पर भ्रष्टाचार के विरुद्ध जो कानून हमने लाए हैं, और इन सब चीज़ों को आप एक समूह तरीके से देखिए। सच्चाई को आप नाकार नहीं सकते हैं, चाहे आप कुछ भी कर लें, हकीकत को आप नज़रअंदाज में नहीं कर सकते हैं। 2011 में, मैं आपका प्रश्न का जवाब दे रहा हूँ, चिंता मत कीजिएगा, जरूर जवाब दूंगा। 2011 में एक आंदोलन शुरू हुआ लोकपाल को लेकर। लोकपाल बिल लोगों ने कहा कि यूपीए सरकार पास नहीं करेगी, हमने पास करके दिखाया है। राहुल गांधी जी ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस होल्ड किया और कहा, दबाव डाला हर राजनीतिक दल पे, चाहे हमारे सहयोगी हों या विपक्ष हों या जो भी हों या हमारे समर्थक हों, कि इस बिल को लाना हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, अनिवार्य है कि इस बिल को हम संसद में हम पास करें। और वो हुआ। आरटीआई तो हम ही ने लाया था। अब आप देखिए कि राहुल गांधी जी ने जो कहा है कि 6 बिल्स जो और पास करने हैं, चाहे वो फॉरेन ब्राइबरी को हो, जिसके बारे में आप, वो भी एक रिलेटेड है ब्लैक मनी से, प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग, वो भी ब्लैक मनी की इशू है, विसल ब्लोअर बिल, जिससे जो आदमी जिसको खतरा लगता है कि मैं यदि किसी के बारे में, भ्रष्टाचार के बारे में बोलूं तो क्या, यदि कोई मुझ पर हमला कर दे तो उसको आप किस तरीके से उसको सुरक्षा देंगे। मैं समझता हूं कि ये सब एक बहुत ही अहम, नहीं देखिए, ये मैं एक कांग्रेस पार्टी का ही प्रवक्ता हूं मैं, तो कांग्रेस पार्टी का यही सोच है, यही हमारा विचारधारा है। मैं आपको ये बताना चाहूंगा, कांग्रेस पार्टी पर जिन्होंने कहा कि हम ये नहीं करेंगे, वो सब हमने सही तरीके से कहा है। भ्रष्टाचार पर बोलना बड़ा आसान है, लेकिन दुनिया भर में, एक मिनट मुझे खत्म करने दीजिए। महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है कि भ्रष्टाचार के विरुद्ध आदमी करता क्या है, राजनीतिक दल करते क्या है, और हमने करके दिखाया है कि भ्रष्टाचार के विरुद्ध हमने ऐसे कानून लाए हैं, एक ऐसा एंटी करप्शन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर लाया है लेजिस्लेशन के थ्रू, जो भविष्य में वो आपको ब्लैक मनी को या करप्शन को वो रोकेगा। तो मैं यही आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि यहाँ पर बाबा रामदेव जी ने जो कहा है, वो उनके सजेशन या सुझाव से सरकार काम नहीं करती है। सरकार बहुत आगे की सोच चुकी है।
भगत सिंह के मसले पर आपने कहा कि डेमोक्रेसी में जुडिशियल प्रोसेस का सम्मान किया जाना चाहिए। अब जब एक मुख्यमंत्री को एसआईटी ने और कोर्ट ने क्लीन चिट दी है, नरेंद्र मोदी की बात मैं कर रहा हूँ, गुजरात में गोधरा के दंगों, आपके प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं कि वो मैसेकर उन्होंने कराया, तो कोई सबूत अगर उनके पास है जिसके आधार पर कर रहे हैं, तो विज्ञान भवन की जगह उसको कोर्ट को दे देना चाहिए था, ताकि मोदी के ऊपर मुकदमा वगैरह चल सके। आप सम्मान कर रहे हैं क्या जुडिशियल प्रोसेस?
हम पूरा सम्मान कर रहे हैं। बताते हैं क्यों? क्योंकि भारत में एक प्रक्रिया है, कानूनी प्रक्रिया है। और कानूनी प्रक्रिया क्या है? यदि आज एक मजिस्ट्रेट कोर्ट पर या मेट्रोपॉलिटन कोर्ट पर मान लीजिए कि आप ही को कोई ऐसा एक जजमेंट आता है जिससे आप पर काफ़ी कठिनाई एक आपको अनुभव होता, तो आप क्या करते? आप आगे जाके लड़ते ना। तो जब तक वो कानूनी प्रक्रिया समाप्त नहीं होता है, तब तक किसी का ये कहना कि हम अक्विटेड हो गए हैं, वो भी गलत है। कोई दोषी नहीं, कोई ये नहीं कहा है कि कोई कानूनी तरीके से दोषी है। लेकिन एक बात तो जरूर है, यदि आप ये प्रश्न मुझसे मत पूछिए, हम तो कहते हैं गुजरात जाइए और जाके पूछिए जिन्होंने वो प्रोटेस्ट पिटिशन फाइल किया है, जिन्होंने जाकिया जाफरी की प्रोटेस्ट पिटिशन जिन्होंने फाइल किया है, उनसे आपने सुना होगा, उनके वकील ने कहा कि वो कुछ हफ्तों में वो फिर हायर कोर्ट्स में जा रहे हैं। तो मैं यही कहना चाहूँगा कि अभी आप देखेंगे कि एक बहुत ही उनके जाने माने नेता को बेल मिला तो भाजपा ने उत्सव मनाया कि जैसे वो अक्विटेड हो गए हैं। तो ये मैं समझता हूँ कि लोग हर चीज़ में राजनीति करते हैं। जहाँ तक सच्चाई यही है कि जब तक भारत का जो सबसे बड़ा कोर्ट किसी को रिहाई नहीं देता है, तब तक एक प्रश्न का चिन्ह हमेशा रहेगा।
One minute.
We will answer all questions. Nobody is going anywhere.
Just 5 minutes. Just pay 5.
Today, the Delhi High Court passed a landmark judgment allowing the CAG to audit the accounts of telecom companies. Since the Congress stands so much for probity, would you at least make a case that there is a case for CAG auditing private telecom companies, private electricity companies, those who are using, or even those who are running national airports? Do you support this or not?
LG has already commented.
Well, yeah, as far as we are concerned, all we are saying is that end of day, in the provision of public services, one has to ensure the highest level of transparency and accountability. The Delhi High Court has allowed, I read that just before coming here, the audit of these companies. Yeah. And I think, the companies will comply. Companies are publicly listed. Companies have their own auditors. It is important for them to sit and reconcile whatever is the final figures that emerge in terms of the pricing of or the tariff of electricity, as in this case, it's electricity. Now, I think, I'm talking about the fact that today, when you have audits of any company, like even you have audits going to happen of companies in Delhi in the area of electricity distribution, it is part of the norm that end of day all companies must be transparent and allow themselves to be inspected, not as a matter of procedure necessarily, but definitely as a matter of inspection should there be doubts about them. If you ask the private sector today, I think a lot of them will, they need to they have their own shareholders, they have their own, own due diligence, they are accountable to not just the shareholders, to the public at large. But I do believe that it's a good sign that end of day we are stretching the definition of transparency and accountability to include even private sector firms in terms of tariff and pricing. Whether it is going to be a process that should be cast in iron, no, that's not for me to comment on. No, we can't respond to that. I don't think we can respond to it as a party. That's something that, as an aggrieved police officer, he was a senior police officer, he's got, he's made a case. Sorry, Mr. Pradeep Sharma was an IS officer. He's made a case and he wants to file an FIR. And apparently I heard that, they're not accepted that. But that's something that I'm sure he is entitled to as an individual and both as an IS officer to seek recourse in whichever methods the country allows him. Well, I can tell you that I'm not aware of the full details of the case, but if it is so, then it's for them to answer. But we cannot comment on it right now because I've just read the report. I don't think we can comment on it.
Here is one question.
कई कांग्रेस के नेताओं ने कहा कि अब वो वक्त आ गया है कि राहुल गांधी को प्रधानमंत्री पद की उम्मीदवारी घोषित कर दी जानी चाहिए और प्रधानमंत्री ने भी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस पे साफ कर दिया है। आपने अभी कहा कि बराक ओबामा को भी सुझाव मनमोहन सिंह देते रहे हैं समय समय पर, तो आपका ये कहना है कि इस जगह पे आपका ये कहना है कि भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था के साथ साथ अमेरिका की अर्थव्यवस्था को खराब करने मनमोहन सिंह का।
देखिए, मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा कि जानते हैं सच्चाई क्या है? सच्चाई तो यही है, नहीं उसका जवाब देता हूं मैं, कि अभी आप देखिएगा तो अमेरिका का अर्थव्यवस्था सुधरना शुरू हो गया है और आप देख रहे हैं कि हम लोग भी यहाँ पर प्रगति के रास्ते पर और भी हमारी रफ्तार बढ़ी है। तो
थैंक यू। I thank you very much. We are short of time. Let's wind up. You can take a bite.
Yeah.
चलो।